Mortimer J. Adler was an Aristotelian philosopher and educator. He founded and served as the director of the Institute for Philosophical Research, as well as served on the board of the Encyclopedia Britannica since 1949. He was also the developer of the Pandia proposal and program in education. Before we can discuss the Pandia proposal, we need to better understand perennialism. Perennialism is an educational theory derived from Aristotelian realism. Perennialism asserts Aristotle's premises that truth is universal and eternal, and that human beings, by their very nature, are rational in that they possess the intellectual power to reason. So Adler chose the word pandia, which is a Greek word for upbringing of children. This signifies the general education of all human beings needs to be intellectual, and they need to come out being rational individuals. The Pandia proposal argues that a genuinely equal education opportunity should be available for all children, meaning that all children should be offered the same quantity, attend school for the same number of years, and have the same quality of education. When developing the Pandia proposal, Adler stuck to perennial principles, arguing that education should be available and equal for all children. He was opposed of dividing students into tracks in which they are taught different subjects or have different educational experiences. He believed tracking students would cause inequalities in students in educational experiences. So Adler believed that education's ultimate goal was to ensure that human beings become an educated person. So he believed in the Aristotelian principle, where schooling not only provides skill and knowledge, but also cultivates the habits or dispositions for a satisfying and rewarding life. There was a purpose behind having a track set and equal education for all. This, he believed, would eliminate inequalities in other children depending on economic status. Schooling in the Pandia proposal focused on a single track system where all students would receive the same education and learn from the same curriculum. The issues associated with the single track system include different intellectual capacities. Not all children learn the same or have the same intellect. Also socioeconomic backgrounds, depending on the family and depending on what they could provide for their child, it is different and they have different experiences. Also physiological, emotional needs. Some children need extra help and their disabilities need to be addressed in order for them to be helped and thrive academically. The single system raised a lot of social, political, economic, and educational concerns. Many believe that a multi-track school are better able to deal with students' individual needs rather than a single track school. Within the Pandia proposal, schooling addressed some major objectives. This was to provide the means of mental, moral, and spiritual growth and development. Schooling was to cultivate civic knowledge and virtues needed for responsible citizenship. The outcome was to teach children a more liberal curriculum so they were more well-rounded when they reached adulthood. This was to provide general skills that could transfer to a modern technological economy rather than specialized job training for a single occupation. So when children were only trained in one area, they were less able to move from job to job. As we know in our economy, not everyone works in this type of job their whole entire lives, as it were in the past. So children needed to learn a more liberal curriculum to be more well-rounded and adjust to jobs that were available to them. And curriculum focused on the same common curriculum for the 12 years. This can be seen still today in the United States. Generally, children start in kindergarten and go all the way up to their senior year, their 12th year, before they're graduated and allowed to make that decision to go to college or to go to work. The curriculum is organized into three related learning modes, which have set goals. The goals are developing and exercising learning and intellectual skills, broadening the understanding of ideas and values, and acquiring organized knowledge. This means that you, as an individual, should be a critical thinker, should be able to think beyond what is in front of you. It's creating a more well-rounded, balanced society. Pendia educators focus on basic skills that include reading, writing, speaking, listening, observing, measuring, estimating, and calculating. Subjects are not to be taught in isolation, but instead integrated in the entire curriculum. So we see this a lot in our current schools, where we have many different subjects being taught throughout the day, and the teachers are addressing children in a way where they can listen and observe and become more critical thinkers. Pendia emphasizes on perennialist themes, which are also originated by Hutchins and reiterated by Adler. So Hutchins was also a major influencer of Adler in his development of the Pendia proposal. In a Pendia school, teachers are expected to be liberally educated. Teaching is organized into subjects that lead to acquisition. They use instructional methods that use well-organized narratives. Most of the time, teachers are coaches. They help to correct students to perform listening and reading skills. When it comes to art and literature, this method is used to enlarge understanding. So teachers and students enter into a Socratic mode, which means they probe with questions and they use directed discussions to allow students more quickly to think about and question issues that may arise in discussions. This can also be seen in modern day high schools and colleges, where Socratic mode is also used to develop discussions. We do this often in discussion posts. We do this in seminars. This is just to lead to further thinking and furthering someone's knowledge about a certain subject. Adler demonstrated the need for restructuring the United States basic education system and publications. So he divided it into four major sections. The first, the schooling of the people. He believed that schooling should be equal among all citizens. Everyone should receive the same 12 years of education with the same curriculum. That way, they can go into society and be prepared to go to college, they're just more prepared in an equal level. The second is the essentials of basic schooling. So this means that he focused on the objectives of basic schooling, which discuss how school should prepare for adult life, adequate preparation for the duties of citizenship, and acquisition of all skills common work, meaning that everyone needs a foundation in language, literature, arts, math, natural sciences, history, geography, social studies. They need to be able to speak and articulate so that they will be able to work and contribute to society. The third is methods of teaching and learning. So this is how students will be taught, how they will learn, how they will become these liberal learners. And then the fourth is beyond basic schooling. So this is focusing on earnings in adulthood, higher education, continued education. Many universities use the Socratic method, and they need students to understand how to learn in a certain way so that they can be successful later in life. There are 3 modes of teaching and learning. The first is students should acquire organized knowledge by means of dyadic instruction and lecturing. So teacher as lecturer. This is a area where information is prepared in advance by the teacher, and the lecturer can then propose the information to the students by telling, explaining, pointing out difficulties to be overcome, problems to be solved, and conclusions to be learned. Adler believed that by stating information, it would only lead to temporary stuffing of memory. It would not do anything when you just explain something to students. Instead, he believed that there should be back and forth conversation, questioning back and forth across the teacher and with the students. There is a more of a discussion that elevates thinking and the subject matter that's being taught. This helps with retainment and helps students better understand the curriculum. They're able to ask questions when needed. They're able to have this relationship with the educator, the teacher, and they are able to further explain what is going on. Another area is students acquire intellectual skills by means of coaching, so teacher as coach. To develop intellectual skills, such as reading, writing, speaking, listening, and critical judgment, coaching can be used to help elevate those skills. This shows an understanding of a moderately complicated issue or thought. Teachers are able to go in and be a facilitator and kind of help students under material better. They are able to present the information in a more complex way and assess the skills that are being performed and give expert feedback. They're able to help the students hone in on their individual skill set. And then the third is students' understanding and appreciation for ideas and values are increased by a Socratic method. So teacher as Socrates, or a Socratic questioning is involved. So the goal is to enlarge students' understanding of ideas and values. This method is used in teaching and learning to realize that there is ideas beyond what they're being taught. They can think outside the box. This helps students in discussions challenge and learn how to go back and forth with their teacher in a more complex manner. Positive impacts that are associated with Pendia schooling include how in the primary, intermediate, as well in high school, would use formal in speech communication. It is so important for everyone to understand how to communicate effectively and to communicate in a way that gets their point across. The second is listening instruction would be included as a formal subject of basic instruction. So students would be able to be coached in skills of active listening, critical thinking, and critical interpretation. This would be listening to speeches, music, oral interpretations. This would be part of the everyday classroom environment. The third is students will be encouraged to use their acquired knowledge of communication and skills to frequently engage in speeches and writing beyond the text. So through discussion, they will be coached and taught examples and taught how to ask questions and how to defend their own viewpoints. Another is students will write and speak more often, and teachers read and listen more often. This creates a more well-balanced environment where students feel like they have an opportunity to participate in discussions, and this will help create a better skill set in communicating later on. Another is speech curriculum will be balanced and include 3 modes of teaching and learning. As we learned above, the teacher as coach, teacher as Socratic, teacher as lecturer, all play a role in how a student will be able to learn material. In this sense, they will be able to give their own speeches. They will be able to witness a variety of materials. They will be able to be competent in what they are learning. They'll be more effective learners. Some of the challenges that are associated with the Pendia proposal is continuing to examine instruction in primary grades. There is also debate over whether teaching theory or skills at the basic level is appropriate. Current and future instruction in basic communication needs to be vigilant and incorporate all three modes of teaching and learning. Listing scholarship needs to be addressed as well. Goals need to be kept in mind, and students' levels need to be addressed. Educators may spend more time reflecting on how the course they teach will work into the overall goal. Some of the central contributions that were made by Adler are his perennial beliefs in that philosophy should be part of the mainstream public school. He also believed that education opportunities should be equal for all. Everyone should have the same amount of time, the same quality, and the same amount of years. He also focused on the three types of knowledge: organized knowledge, intellectual skills, and understanding of ideas and values. This led to a more liberal school system where everyone got taught a variety of subjects so that when they became adults, they could contribute to society in a variety of ways. So Adler had lasting impacts on education that we can still witness in the USA today. School structure is one: attending school for 12 years, having a liberal curriculum where many subjects are taught to increase a student's knowledge, using a Socratic technique to help allow for more discussions, for questions to be asked, to allow students to think about a subject in a more in-depth manner. Educated individuals. The end result is that when you attend school in the United States, you are to leave being a more well-versed, more educated part of society. You will be able to contribute to society. This just prepares us for adulthood. We are a ever-changing economy and society that we need to prepare children and students to go from job to job depending on what is available, so that they will be able to provide to the economy, provide for themselves, and to contribute to the overall well-being of everyone.